I think I learned a lot about Godard because, he's a bit of a mystery. He's so unusual. He's so different. I'm much more Truffaut, Romer, John Eustache, a lot of the other French directors I relate to so much more. You can't really relate to Godard too much. He's just so in his own cinematic universe.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, a young film critic aspires to make his first feature in director Richard Linklater's comedic drama, Nouvelle Vague. The film tells the story of a young Jean-Luc Godard who gives up writing for a French film magazine to make movies himself. With help from François Truffaut to write a treatment, and assistance from Georges de Beauregard to fund the feature, Godard brings to life his vision for a film called Breathless. In addition to Nouvelle Vague, Linklater's other directorial credits include the feature films Dazed and Confused, School of Rock, A Scanner Darkly, Hitman, Blue Moon, and the film trilogy Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. He was nominated for the DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Feature Film for his 2014 feature, Boyhood. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Linklater spoke with director Jason Reitman about filming Nouvelle Vague. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Well, if you enjoy watching someone interview their hero and simultaneously their hero being someone who doesn't know how to take a compliment, you're going to love this.
Jason, thanks for doing this, by the way.
I have so many places I want to start this conversation. And I think I'm going to start here. You have 2 movies coming out this year.
They're out right now, yeah.
This and Blue Moon. One is about a director making his first movie. Mm-hmm. Another is about an artist on the last day of his life.
Well, not the worst day of his life.
Okay.
But in the last,
But we also see the last
life.
moment of his
life. Yeah, we do catch
a
bit of a flashback.
I'm so curious where you are as an artist right now, where your interest is simultaneously
technically
a director at the beginning and
closer to the
I mean, you're at the beginning of a 20-year movie, so you better not be.
Yeah, that's true. No, it was interesting, these 2 films about artists, one the beginning, one the end. But it doesn't make me that thoughtful about where I am. I really don't. I still feel like I'm at the beginning or near the beginning. Not the beginning, but, a little bit in.
Yeah. I mean,
isn't that a good place to work from?
It is. Well, it seems to be, I feel like it's always where you're coming from. I think it's the thing that's most extraordinary about your work. And I said, you're a hero of mine, and I don't throw that around lightly. That's true. I feel like there are 5 movies at least that you have made where if you only had made that one movie of the 5, you'd be a master. And yet there are so many that you have made, and so many important films to me and so many important films to everyone here. It's true. But one thing that's fascinating about all of them is that none of them have ego to them. They all have this feel as though the characters are finding themselves in real time. Whether that's Days, whether that's Boyhood, whether that's the Before series, whether that's this film. We're looking at characters who are egoless and finding themselves. And there's this assured directorial hand, and yet we feel as though we are on a sense of discovery. And I'm wondering if that's something you are conscious of, or if that's just something about who you are as an artist.
I think one thing I am conscious of, I think I just want to catch people in a moment, like this movie. And I've done it even whether it's a historical moment like this movie, or even a movie that's really personal to me, like Days, or Everybody Wants Something, like a period piece that's kind of based on my own experience. I really start with this metaphor of we're just dropping a camera down, we're time traveling back and just trying to capture the reality. So it never has any importance to it or anything. I was even I'm making a film, there's these icons, we got Godard, Beauregard. I said, you're not an icon. You're not this is before all that. You're just a young person in your moment. I tell the crew, Godard's nobody. He's a cahier critic. This isn't a film about icons. We're just at this moment in 1959. This is a film we're making. We don't know where anything's going to go. And, just try to bring everybody into that moment and not think about anything after that.
Is that hard to convince the actors of? I mean, do the actors come with all this preparation, feeling as though they're carrying a character of weight?
Even like, Truffaut and Godard, they didn't like this. I said, no, that's all later. That's all later. You have falling outs. You have all this other. You're just getting to know each other. This is fun. You're in your moment. This is like an opportunity. It's just a bunch of young people making a film. He's making his first film. You remember that? It's just like that rush of, it's so exhilarating and yet so kind of fraught and volatile, and you're so insecure, but you're so passionate. It's a fun little tightrope walk. So it felt like making my first film. I was making a film about a first film. This one just happens to be, such an influential film in history in such a unique moment in time, in this community, this unique community that changes cinema history. So it was a fun place to go back to. That was more fun than making a film about making one of my films,
It's interesting because you talk about how influential this film is. Your first film, Slacker, is the film that got, a million kids to pick up a camera and say, I want to be a filmmaker, including this person right here. I'm curious if there are echoes of making this that also remind you of making Slacker. I know, are you trying to capture the same spirit?
I'm not comparing the films in that way, but it's, it couldn't help but be personal, autobiographical. I'm making it, but all those things I just said about making your first film, I felt. Plus, I had a unconventional script. I just had notes. I didn't have a script. My crew didn't really.
How is your? Do you speak French?
No. No, not important.
How did you write the script?
Not important. Well, no, it's in English. My colleagues, Vince Palmo, Holly Gent, we started on this like 13 years ago. So it was in English. We just translated it to French, and then, it was a completely French production. Zoe Deutsch and I were the only Americans. And it's a visual medium, No,
what's happening when you're watching a take, though?
Talk about that. It's because it's really interesting, because it was like, I probably would have been really intimidated by that a long time ago, but I thought, no, it'll work. The film I saw in my head, and I never told them this, I'm making a subtitled movie. It's going to sound French because all those films sound French. I considered the language like score, that's how the Nouvelle Vague sounds. And then you have these beautiful old English subtitles. And that even framing,
would you look at the French crew ever and be like, how?
I was like, let's get the camera. There's a darker area here where the subtitles go, even the compositions. Oh. So I never told them this, but I did actually care a lot about the French performances. I wanted, the French to think, I wanted those to be, that was important. So I did everything I would normally do. We rehearsed for a long time. Made them feel very comfortable. We rewrote the script as we rehearsed, and that's in English. English is everyone's second language, so they probably understood about 85% of what I was trying to communicate. I would write little manifestos and get those translated into French for them, just more specific points I wanted to make sure they knew. And everybody had a great time. But at that final little moment of performance, I was looking at them and I could tell, okay, I think they messed up there. And I had my producer and my script supervisor. I would just go, did he? Yeah, okay, Mark, so I couldn't, totally parse exactly the performance. So I was kind of reliant on them. And then also a French editor I was working with too. So for that little thing, but I was kind of doing my own control group study. I've talked about that, where does a naturalistic performance come from? And I was thinking, well, I just want to do what I always do. Have them be very comfortable. They all get to know each other. We spend all this time, we rehearse on location. And I was really happy that in France, they really love the performances. They're all so real, and they love this young cast. They're all excited about them.
The cast is incredible.
Yeah.
Where did you find these actors?
But, you can't always say if it's a good performance when you're reading the subtitles of it.
Right.
Like I love like Fassbender, and I remember someone says, "Oh, those performances are so bad." I'm like, "Really? I think they're great, but I guess I am reading the, it's hard to judge is what I'm saying when you don't know the language.
I want to go back to another question.
A question of a culture, but I was happy. So anyway, does that kind of finish the language? My language dilemma was worked around, and I learned a lot, but I knew that was just how the movie had to be done. But
I'm curious. Sorry, now I have like two different things that popped in my head as you were talking. I'm curious, when you write a film in English that is then performed in English, do you care about the sing-song nature of the performance in the end? Is there a way that it should sound exactly in your head? Like my instincts when I watch your films is that you were giving the actors so much leeway because there's that conversational, relaxed tone to the way they perform. But then I'm curious, of course, the difference between that and making a film in French where you don't know whether they're hitting the intonations exactly as you thought.
See, I'd say in the French, maybe I couldn't parse what you're talking about. I could kind of feel it. But in English, I am going for that, but it's not so much the script. I just hear it, rehearsals, hear it, and then I'm kind of always rewriting, and if they contribute, just to get it to sound natural. So I don't know. It's always polishing to me. What the worst thing is when they read the script and you realize that the words are maybe incorrect or not. There's something about the language that makes it kind of stiff. And that's when I go to work via the actor. It's like, okay, why does this sound, what's off a little here? And it's usually the script's just not perfect. Most scripts aren't. So I'm always trying to find that with the actor. And then you just know it. You know it when it's singing. To me, I know when the pitch is, when that's right. So,
how do you know?
I end up with just a bit of a surgeon, I think, of the exact dialogues via rehearsal. You just know it when it's working and sounding right. I don't know. It's kind of hard to, pretty intuitive. And I think the actors know it too. You look up and go, okay, that's working. You don't have to overthink it.
I feel like the actors are always like, I didn't get it. I was like, oh my God, that was great.
Oh, really? Yeah. You got to wear them down more. Like, if they've rehearsed for 3 weeks and they've done that, they're like, okay, that's pretty good. And you're like, yeah, that was I just need it to be the best it's ever been done. Then we can move on.
I heard you do an interview. You said, you had this great line about, after Abraham Lincoln did the Gettysburg Address, he was probably hungry and went to get a sandwich. He was a human being, and that when we go back and look at life,
exactly.
I remember that these.
Exactly.
Even the most important historical figures have.
Yeah, but you see these period films. I think when you're acting it, like all this importance gets put on it. The costumes and even the way we light such things, and it's kind of like. I'm acting in a period film. It's so important, So I was like, no, there are these incredible important moments, but there's still life all around it. So I don't know. I think most films I've made that are historical, they really aren't important moments. Last day of high school and life, that thing I would bring to a period piece of my own. So I kind of bring that to actual important moments too. It's kind of fun I told the actors, we're just lowering the stakes of everything we're doing to make it feel real and in the moment. So
yeah, I mean, it's like when they wrap the movie and it's just like a casual clapping of like 3 people and no one's acknowledging that they just wrapped this important film. And
well, I do love that feeling, and we're privy to it. Like when an actor does something amazing and you move on, like they just, in your mind, they just made history. Like that is such a great scene. They don't even know how great they are yet. They won't know for maybe a year when they see the movie or whatever. And then I just see them walk over to the craft service table and get out their phone and call somebody. Like life has returned.
Right.
But 90 seconds ago, 30 seconds ago, something great just happened. And
that one day everyone will
we
see.
Captured it.
Yeah.
But everyone is doing their job. Everyone goes back to work.
Have you ever seen
I love that moment.
Al Pacino's alternate takes on Say Hello to My Little Friend?
Oh, no.
It's the strangest thing because it's exactly what you just said. There's a way that we remember a line exactly. It becomes like a piece of music. You know it inch for inch. Then you go back and you went, oh, that's right. He did takes.
It could have been.
There were bigger takes, actually, smaller takes.
And they picked that one for, whatever reason. But alternative takes.
It's so funny. There's a moment in your movie where Godard goes up to Seberg and says, don't you get it already? You're playing me. Which is frighteningly something I have absolutely said to an actor.
Sometimes you have to. You have to play that card.
Have you done that? Have you said that to an actor before?
Kind of to reassure him. You're kind of saying, I get you. I'm on your side. Like,
right.
I have in some way. Yeah.
Was casting this different?
I just read this book about it's about Bob Fosse when he was making Star 80, and at some point he goes up to Eric Roberts. They were kind of arguing about something. He says, "Don't you get it? You're playing me. If I didn't have any talent, I would be this kind of guy. I am that guy. I just have succeeded in this other way, but I am
so
you.
Good.
So it's like, ooh, So
every director I know is obsessed with Bob Fosse.
For good reason.
Yeah, definitely for good reason.
Yeah.
I think I'm curious your thoughts on why, like in film school, when they start talking about, here are the important directors, you get, it's like, here you go, Hitchcock and
sure. We know the
but when I talk to directors, we talk about Fosse, who made 5 movies, and each one's extraordinary. And we sit there and we can go for hours breaking them apart, talking about Lenny and how extraordinary he is. What do you think it is about Fosse? Because I actually see a lot of Fosse in your work.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, the intensity, the personal nature of it. A great movie would be Fosse's childhood, there in Chicago, and that he entered show business as a young person. You see a little bit in all that jazz. The Keith Gordon young guy he's growing up in the bowels of the entertainment. Like that would be a great movie. Anyway, someone should do that.
I'm going to circle back to casting because I have to ask them questions. I know they're going to want to.
But that's a great one. But I don't know. That's a compliment, but I don't see it. Personally, style.
I see it in the way that your films are both completely alive and fearless in their quiet moments, and particularly something that is very true to your work that's almost, I don't see in anyone other director working today, is your ability to create something enormous out of a non-moment. You take the big moments that we think are the obvious ones and you bring them down to a whisper, and you take the whisper moments and you bring them up until they're overwhelming.
Oh, wow. I think film can do that really well. Intimate little moments, it captures it so beautifully. I think the power of the medium, right? You do a close up or just see a kid staring at something, you're saying it's important. The director gets to say what's important just by what you're emphasizing and the audience goes with it. Where you might miss it in real life. If something exciting's happening here, you miss that moment, but we get to kind of choose and emphasize and steer, take the eyes and the spirit, somewhere where you want to take it for whatever reasons, So it's an option always. So,
what did you learn on this film?
Wow. How damn fun making a movie is, that's for sure. It was really fun just being in this kind of cinephile heaven. But I think I learned a lot about Godard because, he's a bit of a mystery. He's so unusual. He's so different. I'm much more Truffaut, Romer, Jean Eustache, a lot of the other French directors I relate to so much more. You can't really relate to Godard too much. He's just so in his own cinematic universe head. So I learned so much about the film, and my respect for it goes up even more. We had all their camera reports, and I knew how many takes they did of everything, how quick they worked, what lens they used. We really got under the hood of this movie. It was so interesting to know.
What was that research process like?
It's so well documented. We have all the photos you see being taken in the movie. We had all those exist, and there's famous ones that are really iconic, but then there's the contact sheets. There's just so much, and you really learn a lot about the production just looking at all the.
Can you remember
pictures.
something
Yeah,
specific?
well,
you remember learning from a photo?
Built up a whole scene. When you hear there's like an accident and Belmondo walks over and he's laying in the street, you don't see the accident, but you look at the photos and there's a stuntman in midair kind of going over the hood of a car. So I was like, oh, they filmed it.
Right.
He filmed an accident or something trying to get a little action in his movie, but it didn't make the final cut. So what happened there, I thought that would be funny because, you have to spend money on a stuntman. Beauregard would be pissed off. But I just thought maybe it was a little conventional for Godard. Like, this is what everybody would do. Just show it. He's like, oh, well, off screen space, we'll hear it. And just so I just see him in real time making that choice. I don't know if that's what happened, but I just kind of thought, well, that's maybe what could have happened. But we have proof that they did film it. And it's not in the final movie, so something happened. So it was a little bit of a, fun little research journey like that. But I learned, truly a spontaneous film, that carved out of the real world. There was just no artifice. There was no art department, no locations department, no sound, nothing. No makeup except Seberg's kind of friend and assistant. They're really, it was so minimal, just in real time in those 20 days. And the way he would, I guess he was just so, it was a portrait of an artist who wants freedom more than anything. And the way you have to just demand it, you have to carve that out for yourself. What's easy in other mediums, we have to take somehow. You have to insist on it. So I don't know when he knocks off after a few, hours and calls that the day. Is he doing that to flex, or is he truly out of ideas? But he's kind of saying, "This is my production. We're going to go at my pace in my thinking." He refused to be part of any kind of machine because this film was made in the French film industry. Beauregard's a producer, and there was in the industry the lower budget side of it, but it's in the industry, which is remarkable. All of us, it's like the indie world. You don't have a producer like that. Usually don't have a distributor either. You don't know what's going to happen. So that's a very different world. But the way he just, there were a lot of days. So he would take off a day, but then there were these 18-hour days. If you look at it again, it's like, oh, okay, here they are in that hotel room for like 5 days. So much material. So we made up a lot of stuff.
Earlier you said it was a spontaneous film. Do you think that's something, when you were younger and you saw this film for the first time and you were seeing other movies from the French New Wave, you saw that sparked that concept of, oh, how do you make a movie? This is something I relate to so much, this idea of how do you create a sense on set, like things are happening in real time, and that they're just, coming from the ether. And it's a very hard thing to do as a filmmaker. As a filmmaker, we are naturally control freaks. Yeah. And to let go and allow things to happen like that is actually an emotionally complicated endeavor.
Yeah, and I think Godard is probably the ultimate control freak by not letting anyone know anything. He's a selfish control freak at that, but for his own methods and his own purposes probably. So, but he is kind of like, so I never liked, on one hand, it's kind of a compliment when people say, oh, your films, that's just improvised, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not that good. How can you do that? That's not storytelling. I'm too much of a writer, storyteller to think you could just turn on a camera and something miraculous happens. And I guess some people have been able to do that, but I think that's really antithetical to storytelling or any, I don't know how that would work. I really don't. And I've been answering that question for decades. People ask me that, and I go, I don't know. But what he's doing, I think, is closer to like silent movie before they even had scripts. You just behind the camera tell someone to do something. A lot of comedy in the early silent movies was just kind of conjured sort of spontaneously. But he has all these lines. He's such an intellectual. He has notebooks, and so I think that's fair to work like that, not be conventionally scripted. But I don't know, to each his own. That's why he's such a unique cinematic brain. It was fun to be around him just because he's not really like anybody else as far as I can tell. So I feel much more, we're all much more traditional in comparison. And he's funny too. He's such a character.
Last year I made a movie about the opening night of Saturday Night Live and did a similar kind of research and I remember standing in these places.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most remarkable things for me. And in fact, you already know this, but I once did the entire walk from before sunrise. I went to Vienna and I went to every single location over the course of a night because I'm that big a fan. It's scary. Really, you should have a restraining order for me. We
all pick that. We're all like that for certain movies. I have some.
What was it like to go back and stand in the real places for Breathless?
It's really moving. I find it really moving to be back at locations where history was made, and in movies, like, oh, this is the scene where, but we'd be at, Lillian David's apartment when he's there and briefly and then goes upstairs and goes to her apartment. We're at the real location. It looks a lot like it. It has a few, there's a bike rack and some other things that we have to kind of alter. But, even the people living there, like, what are you doing? Oh, we're making a movie. It's like, what about? It's like, what, did you know cinema history was made here when Belmondo? And like, no, we never knew that. It's like, so hey, they know that now. We're like, they should feel special about their apartment complex. But maybe they do now. There should be more plaques. Don't you think? Shouldn't there be a plaque every time a movie, like, it was here that, anything?
But that's actually exactly like a Linklater film in that you have a moment where half of it is like, this is extraordinary, this is cinema history, and yet another person's like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
and it's where those two ideas meet that your genius sprouts.
I know, well, but it's what we imbue it with, It's like everything in life. We get to, it means as much as we want to bring to it, right? So I don't know, but there's powerful places in art. I just love the feeling. I guess it just means something to you, and you get to. But I like that feeling. Time's gone on, and
Are you nostalgic?
Things change. I don't think so. Believe it or not.
I mean, you might be.
Not for my own life. I'm cinema nostalgic. Like what we're just describing, being in a location where, there's a location in New York on the West Side. I was working there once, and it's where. In Raging Bull, where he first meets Vicky at the pool. Mm-hmm. And you think that's in the Bronx or something, but it's actually in Lower Manhattan. And someone pointed it out to me. And I was like, oh yeah, they filmed it. It's kind of a period piece. Like, yeah, if you look just there, it's 50s. If you go over there, you're back in the, I was like, yeah, of course, it's right here. So every time I walk by there, I just kind of go, oh, this is where she comes, So that's nostalgic, right? I mean, that's like cinema. I'm art nostalgic, but like my own life, I don't want to go back to another period in it. When I do films that I'm always kind of, it's like therapy or something, traumatic places in my past that I'm going back and
Is that why you enjoyed this one so much? Because it was traumatic moments of someone else's past?
Yeah, I like someone. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of period piece, how the hell did you do this movie? I'm watching it. There are wide shots of Paris in this.
Yeah, no kidding. It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's a. Paris is well preserved as any big city, as much as any city could be, but that's from the second floor up. It's pretty preserved, but the first floor, it's commerce, it's the real world, it's vibrant economy. So that, oh my God, every scene I could tell you the whole story, but I would say. Like a lot of things, you control your immediate foreground, cars, extras, and then the backgrounds quickly fall off into 2024 when we were shooting. So a lot of visual effects. I didn't want it to feel that way, but it is a ton. I had like 300.
No kidding.
Visual effects.
It's seamless.
Yeah, I just didn't want you to ever think of it. And they're subtle, but it's persistent.
This is your Jurassic.
And it is. It is. Absolutely. Yeah, almost every exterior, everything had. I had this great guy, Benjamin. It's a French company. And I haven't done a lot of visual effects, but I was like, okay, all that, can we make that easy? Yeah, we can. That was like, he did that always, and it's true. Like even the street where he dies on at the end, that whole street, beautiful French cobblestone street, asphalt, it's all paved. You get there and your heart sinks. You're like, how the f*** are we gonna, it's famously, and his head is on the street. What are we gonna do? And it's like, and I don't think I would have been able to do this film even 2 years ago. The advances are so, seismic, but we were able to replace the street and I didn't have to lay out like a green screen street for him to run on. It's like, oh no, we can change that. I'm like, holy crap.
I'm just like,
the only thing we built the street just on the close up of him, we built that little square yard maybe. But other than that, they were just able to replace it. It looked like really bad carpeting for like a month or two. And it's like, no, keep going. So it was 6 months of back and forth on all the visual effects. But it was really fun. All those French cafes, when they're kind of, how the windows, they don't have enough light. They're always kind of blown out windows, but you can see people in the background. We were trying to capture that look. But we would have the immediate sidewalk, and then we would put up a green screen. Or maybe we would even park a car, but pretty soon we'd have a green screen. And then we'd put everything behind that.
No kidding.
All of it. We spent days just filming cars,
the film is so naturalistic.
We had extras walking around. Yeah, so you just had to kind of create the society in the deep background of this entire movie. So it was a lot of, it felt like a little magic trick, for sure, within what we wanted to feel very spontaneous and natural. But it's just like there's an answer to everything. The famous New York Herald Tribune, when she's selling the newspapers, that famous scene. If you go back to that location, it's long gone because there's the Champs-Élysées, and then there's that little smaller street, and then the sidewalk. Well, that smaller street's gone. It's one huge sidewalk outside a Louis Vuitton store or whatever. So you say, well, that's not going to work. But on the other side of the arc, if you go 180 degrees, La Grande Army, there's a street that looks a lot like what it looked like in 59. So we just filmed over there in the same relation to the arc. It was just 180 degrees that way. So and then, it was all motorcycle shops and all this stuff. But, we just owned the street. Right. And then everything else,
That's insane.
But it was fun. It was like well, it was a historical research group project, or just how to make it work. You got every department in, and we're a low budget French film too. So we're an average to low budget French film, doing it the way they do it, 30-day shoot, all subsidized. They have a lot of subsidies. Right before we started, the French government, I think they're trying to build up their visual effects industry. So they say, we're going to give you 500,000 more euros, but you have to spend it all on visual effects. I'm like, no problem. Yes, but anyway, that's what it feels like to make an official French film. It was awesome.
This was a highly anticipated film for me. I got to see it at Telluride along with Blue Moon, which I also loved. I don't know how you have two films coming out simultaneously that are both so good. What I love most about this film is that it's a Richard Linklater film. That even though it is 1960 black and white France in French, it is somehow completely of your work. And it reminds me of that thing that I always feel every time I watch one of your films. I get to spend time with people that I just want to hang with, and that these people surprise me with their philosophy. They surprise me with their insight into life. Your work is so beautiful, and I'm just so grateful. I know everyone here is so grateful that you shared it with us. Thank you so much for bringing this film to the DGA.
Well, thank you, guys. Well, thank you guys for being here on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.